The first scream wasn't loud. It was sharp, like a branch snapping underfoot. Then came the thud, metal against bone, and the unmistakable sound of a body hitting pavement. Liam! I was already running before I realized I'd dropped my phone. My son lay sprawled across the edge of the cul-de-sac, backpack torn open, his leg twisted wrong. A silver Lexus idled a few feet away, its driver's door swinging open, and then she stepped out, manicured, composed, and already dialing 911. He ran into my car, she shouted to no one and everyone. He threatened me. This child attacked me. If you think this story ends with her walking away, think again. Because what she didn't know, what changed everything, was who else was watching. Before we get into what really happened, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This isn't just a story about a kid getting hurt. It's a story about standing your ground when a Karen in power forgets that people fight back. 3 weeks earlier, I thought I'd found our fresh start. After my wife passed, Liam and I needed a change. The grief was eating both of us alive in that cramped apartment in Houston. So when I landed a remote data analyst job, I cashed out every cent I had and we moved to Sycamore Ridge, a quiet, tree-lined subdivision in North Carolina that looked like something out of a postcard. The HOA was strict, sure, but the place felt safe. Kids played in the cul-de-sac, flags waved on porches. The air didn't smell like concrete and exhaust. Our new house was modest, 2 bedrooms, a small front yard, 1-car garage, but clean and freshly painted. Liam loved that he could walk to school. I loved that I could breathe again. The first person to welcome us was a woman in her late 50s with a clipboard and the kind of smile that comes with practiced precision. Sandra Miles, she said, HOA president, and realtor, of course. I help sell most of the homes on this street. She handed me a welcome packet and a long list of community guidelines. Everything from acceptable window blind colors to trash bin placement. I nodded, thanked her, and tried to smile back. But something about the way she scanned our U-Haul and Liam's worn-out sneakers made me uneasy. You'll want to get that mailbox repainted ASAP, she added before turning away. Russ sends the wrong message. I didn't think much of it until the first violation notice came. Mailbox not in compliance. A $75 fine stapled to our front door in a clear plastic sleeve like it was evidence in a murder case. I paid it, figured it was a rite of passage. But then came another. Trash bin visible outside allowed time window. And another. Grass over 3 inches. Sandra always smiled when she walked past. Always waved at Liam like she was running for office. But her notes kept piling up. Liam took it harder than I expected. Why is she always watching us? He asked one afternoon after she stopped him for riding his scooter too fast on the sidewalk. I told him to ignore her, that we were new, that she'd get bored, but she didn't. One night I caught her standing across the street staring at our house, just standing there. When I opened the door, she turned and walked away like it never happened. Then came the garden bed incident. Liam and I had spent a weekend building a small flower patch near the porch. Nothing fancy, just marigolds and lavender. The next morning, I found a violation notice zip-tied to our front gate. Unauthorized landscaping. Remover face fine. When I called the HOA office listed on the packet, I got a voicemail. Then a call back. Not from a manager, but from Sandra herself. Mr. Carter, we have very specific standards. Your son's little project isn't compliant with the aesthetic of the block. I'm sure you understand. I didn't. Not then. That week, someone cut the flowers down. Liam found them. The stems, the dirt scattered. I tried to hold it together, but something broke in him that day. He didn't cry, just went quiet. The final straw came a few days later, when Liam was walking home from school. Sandra claimed he lunged at her car, that he threw something, that he screamed profanity at her in the street. She filed an official HOA complaint. I didn't even see her, Liam swore, voice cracking. I was on the sidewalk. I didn't say anything. I believed him, but Sandra doubled down. He's becoming a threat, Mr. Carter. Other residents have noticed. If you can't keep him under control, we'll have to take further action. Further action? That phrase rang in my ears long after she hung up. This was no longer about rules or property values. This was about power. And the more I resisted, the more she pushed. But what she didn't know was that Liam had started recording his walks home. Ever since the false claim, he'd kept his phone camera rolling. Quiet, passive, documenting. So when that Lexus came speeding around the bend, when she swerved to teach him a lesson, when she hit my son and called 911 pretending to be the victim, she had no idea the truth was already on tape. The ER waiting room was ice cold and buzzing with fluorescent light. Liam lay on the gurney beside me, leg in a soft cast, IV dripping into his arm. He was sedated, but his breathing was steady. I held his hand like it was the only thing anchoring me to earth. The officer who'd taken the initial statement stood by the wall, notebook in hand. His name was Detective Owens. Maybe mid-40s, calm face, eyes that flicked between me and the closed curtain where Sandra had given her version of events. Her Lexus had been towed for obstruction. She'd ridden in the ambulance, claiming she'd suffered a panic attack after being threatened by a violent juvenile. She was already spinning it. "She's lying," I told him for the third time. "My son didn't run into her car. She drove at him." Owens didn't flinch. "There's no exterior surveillance footage in that area, and her dash cam was conveniently turned off." A beat. "Do you have anything else? Witnesses?" "I've got the truth," I said, pulling Liam's cracked phone from my jacket pocket. "He was recording." The detective took the phone, swiped to the camera roll, and pressed play. We watched together. No commentary. Just silence as Liam walked home. Backpack bouncing, camera steady in his hand. Then the Lexus turned the corner. Too fast. It veered. A sharp jerk of the steering wheel. And then, impact. Sandra's voice followed. "Don't you move, you little delinquent. I have every right." Then static. Owens paused, eyes hard. "You mind if I email this to myself?" "Please," when I said, "just make sure she doesn't get away with this." He nodded and stepped outside the curtain. By the time we got home the next day, the neighborhood was buzzing. A local Facebook group, Sycamore Watch, had already lit up with posts. Some praising Sandra for neutralizing a known troublemaker. Others quietly expressing doubts. A woman named Priya Chen, who I'd never met, messaged me privately. "Hey, I'm so sorry. My kids walk that same street. If you need anything, groceries, whatever, I'm here." That night, I sat in the dark scrolling through years of archived HOA emails. Most were sterile, notices about lawn watering schedules, street cleaning dates. But the deeper I went, the more I noticed something unsettling. Sandra's name wasn't just on everything, it was everything. She chaired every subcommittee, every complaint, every enforcement notice. And over a dozen properties in the past 2 years had been marked with compliance failures right before being listed for sale, all brokered by her agency. I called Priya. "Can I ask you something weird? Have you ever gotten an HOA violation that didn't make sense?" She laughed bitter. "Only 5, all in 1 year. Right after I declined to let Sandra review my remodeling permit. I caved. Most people do." That night I couldn't sleep because Sandra hadn't just hit my son. She'd hit every family here in slow motion. One fine, one complaint, one manipulation at a time. The next morning I walked Liam to school. His crutches clacked on the sidewalk. I hated seeing him like that. Hunched, quiet, avoiding eye contact with kids he used to wave at. When we passed Sandra's house, she stood watering her hydrangeas like nothing had happened. She smiled. "Good morning, Mr. Carter." My fist clenched. Later that day, a certified letter arrived from the HOA. Notice of formal hearing, violation of community harmony clause. It was dated the same day as the accident. They were accusing me of endangering neighborhood morale by provoking confrontations. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I forwarded the notice to Detective Owens and attached the footage. He called 2 hours later. "She's lawyered up," he said. "Claims the video is fake, but we're running a digital verification on the metadata. Also, we've got another problem." "What now?" A man named Everett Vance just came forward. Says he saw the whole thing from his porch. He says Sandra looked like she aimed at your son. My chest tightened. You believe him? He's a retired judge. That night I met Everett on his porch. He was in his 70s, white hair combed neatly, oxygen tank at his side. Saw the whole thing, he said. Used to think Sandra was just a bully with good PR. But this was a line. He'd already given a statement, already sent it to the department. I thanked him until I ran out of words. When I got home, there was a note taped to my door. Aren't you tired yet? Sell. Leave. Before this gets worse. No signature. No handwriting I recognized. Just a message, typed, bolded, and centered. And suddenly I knew. This wasn't just Sandra. Someone else was helping her. I didn't show the note to Liam. He had enough shadows already. Instead, I slipped it into a folder in my home office, beneath the printed HOA violations and a growing spreadsheet of neighbor complaints. If Sandra thought I was backing down, she'd picked the wrong family. By Friday, I had calls from 2 more residents. One was a woman named Elena, mother of twins in Liam's class. She told me about how Sandra fined her $250 for excessive Halloween decor, the same decorations that won her HOA's Best Yard ribbon 2 years earlier. The second was a retired man named Pete, fined for storage of unsightly materials, his son's skateboard ramp. She comes for the ones she thinks won't fight back, Pete said, or the ones she thinks she can profit from. Turns out Sandra wasn't just running the HOA, she was using it, leveraging complaints to devalue homes, then offering to help struggling owners sell. Her real estate signs were like vultures on lawns still bleeding from fines. But it wasn't until I got a call from someone inside the HOA that the whole picture started to come into focus. Mr. Carter? A woman's voice said, quiet and shaky. This is off the record. I work for the HOA. I'm the secretary. My name's Carla. Okay, I said, sitting up straighter. I'm listening. I saw the hearing notice they sent you. That's not standard procedure. It bypassed the board vote. Meaning? Meaning Sandra forged the approval. She used an old digital letterhead template and signed it herself. No one else knew about it until copies went out. You can prove that? I can do better, she said. I'm sending you the metadata and original template logs. You'll see the file history. 2 minutes later, the email came through, and there it was, created on Sandra's personal laptop, signed by her, never reviewed by the board. I forwarded it to Detective Owens and asked one question. Is that enough to press charges? He didn't answer right away. But later that evening, I got a call from the precinct. We're formally opening an investigation into HOA misconduct and civil fraud. Meanwhile, Sandra doubled down. New violation, this time. Unregistered landscaping. The flower bed Liam and I rebuilt together after she destroyed the first one. $125. I laughed out loud reading it. She was trying to drown me in paper. But I wasn't alone anymore. Priya, Elena, Pete, they all started coming forward publicly. We formed a group chat, shared documents, compared fine dates, tracked sales Sandra had handled over the past 5 years. Every time a family left the neighborhood under pressure, Sandra had brokered the sale. She's flipping this whole place for profit, Pete said, furious, using us like pieces on a board. I updated the spreadsheet, logged everything. I had 27 entries before the week ended. 27 stories of coercion, manipulation, forced compliance. Liam's recovery was slow. His leg ached constantly and the cast made him self-conscious. But he came to my office one afternoon, sat across from me and asked, "Are you going to stop her?" I didn't know how to answer. "I'm trying." "She said it was my fault," he whispered, when she got out of the car, like I made her do it. "She's wrong," I said, "and she knows it." He looked at me for a long moment, then reached into his hoodie pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. "She wrote this on my math worksheet when I dropped it by her mailbox." I opened it. It was one line. "Watch your attitude before someone else gets hurt." That was it. No signature. But it was her handwriting. I knew it. Liam knew it. And soon so would everyone else. We scanned the note, logged the original, stored both. The next HOA meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Normally, barely anyone showed up. That night, every chair was full. Sandra walked in like she owned the air. She wore her usual pearls, crisp navy blazer, hair pulled back in a bun so tight it looked like a threat. "Welcome, neighbors," she said, voice syrupy. "Let's begin by reviewing community complaints." "Actually," I interrupted, rising from my seat, "we'll begin by reviewing this." I connected my laptop to the projector and clicked play. Liam's footage. Then Everett's sworn statement, read aloud. Then the metadata from Carla showing the forged violation letter. Silence, then murmurs. Sandra's expression didn't crack. Not yet. "None of that changes the fact that this man has been disruptive," she snapped. "He's been aggressive. He's violating community trust." "Trust?" Elena shot back. "You fined me for planting tomatoes." More voices joined. "You tried to evict the Coopers over a flagpole. You threatened my kid for chalk art." It wasn't a meeting anymore. It was an uprising. Then the door opened. Detective Owens walked in, and behind him, a reporter from Channel 4 News, holding a camera. Sandra's face didn't move, but the pulse in her neck betrayed her. Detective Owens cleared his throat. "Ms. Miles, I have a few follow-up questions regarding recent complaints. This won't take long." His tone was calm but loaded, like a drawn bow. The Channel 4 cameraman didn't even try to hide the red blinking light. Sandra smiled, a strange, twitchy version of it, and adjusted her lapel. "I'm sure there's been some confusion. We can clarify everything internally." "Not anymore," Carla said, standing. She clutched a manila folder to her chest, eyes firm. "I resign as HOA secretary, and I'd like to submit these for the record." She passed the folder to Owens. Inside, internal emails, backdated notices, proof of vote manipulation, pages and pages of it. Sandra turned to her. "You realize you're violating confidentiality, Carla." "I realized that months ago," Carla replied, "but I'm done helping you hurt people." The room cracked open. Priya stood. "My family was going to move because of you. Pete, you tried to fine me for leaving my porch light on too long." A woman in the back near tears. "You reported my autistic son for being too loud." One by one they rose. Sandra's composure unraveled by inches. "I've done nothing outside the authority of my position," she snapped. "These claims are exaggerated, misinterpreted, and frankly, insulting." Owens didn't flinch. "There's enough here to open a formal inquiry into abuse of power and falsification of official records." He turned to me. "And regarding your son, we've reviewed the footage. The file passed all digital authentication. Combined with witness testimony, we're referring the incident to the district attorney for review as a potential felony assault." The room fell silent. Sandra inhaled sharply, then exhaled through her nose. "This is a witch hunt, a smear campaign orchestrated by a disgruntled resident and a few social media crybabies." She turned toward me. "You've created division in a peaceful neighborhood, all because your kid doesn't know how to cross the street properly." I didn't respond. I didn't have to, because the reporter stepped forward. "Ma'am, do you deny that you struck a minor with your vehicle and attempted to file a false police report?" Sandra's eyes widened for half a second. "Barely." "I won't answer questions without legal counsel." That moment was all they needed. The camera caught it. Her voice, her face, her carefully controlled mask cracking just long enough. Owen spoke again, voice even. "Ms. Miles, I advise you not to leave town. You'll be contacted by the district office." She stormed out without another word, pushing past chairs, ignoring the eyes, the silence, and the silence held, until Liam entered. He stood quietly near the door, cast still on his leg, hoodie zipped high. Someone whispered, "That's the boy." Liam didn't speak. He didn't need to. He looked at me and nodded once. And that somehow broke the spell. Applause. Soft at first, then growing. The kind of applause that isn't just for victory, but for release. Relief. People clapped, not for me, or even for Liam. They clapped because someone had finally said no to the tyrant. That night I opened my front door to find a pie. No note. Just a pecan pie in a foil tray, still warm, and beneath it, a folded sheet of paper. Thank you for not giving up. Sandra's downfall was swift. The HOA called an emergency session, removed her from the board with a unanimous vote. Her real estate license was suspended pending investigation. The local paper ran a full-page story. HOA president faces allegations of fraud, harassment, and assault. Even the city council released a statement distancing themselves from her, but she didn't go quietly. 3 days later, I found tire marks across my lawn again. Not Liam's side, mine. A final gesture, and then she vanished. A neighbor said she packed up at 2 a.m. Movers in silence, lights off. Her house was empty by sunrise, but the damage remained, and so did the fear. Because everyone knew she hadn't worked alone. Carla confirmed it over coffee. She had help, a few loyalists, people she promised power, deals, favors. Some are still here. I nodded. I'll be watching. Summer arrived slowly that year, not with fireworks or sunshine, but with quiet, the kind that settles over a neighborhood after a long storm. The lawn grew back, Liam's cast came off, and for the first time since we moved in, I felt something close to peace. The HOA, under interim leadership, voted to suspend all outstanding violations issued during Sandra's tenure. A review committee was formed, this time with real transparency. Priya, Carla, even Pete were on it. They reached out to residents who'd been harassed, fined, or intimidated. Apologies were issued, fees refunded. But not everyone was ready to move on. A few holdouts, people who had benefited from Sandra's reign, grumbled about witch hunts and mob justice. They avoided eye contact when they passed us on the street. I didn't care, because most people, the ones who'd been silent before, started waving again. The mailbox I repainted with Liam now had hand-painted flowers on the side, courtesy of a local art student. For the boy with the brave heart, she'd written on the inside flap. Every now and then, Liam still had nightmares. He'd wake up sweating, clutching his blanket, eyes darting toward the window. But he always calmed down faster now, because he knew I'd be there, and he knew she wasn't coming back. The district attorney eventually filed charges: obstruction of justice, filing a false police report, and reckless endangerment of a minor. Sandra's lawyers fought back. Hard, but the evidence was solid. Video, witnesses, a paper trail of abuse. She took a plea deal. No jail time, but a permanent ban from any HOA leadership roles. Her license was revoked, fines were issued, and unofficially, her name became something people whispered only when they wanted to remember how bad things used to be. Then came the letter. Handwritten, no return address. You think you've won, but I made this neighborhood, I built it, and one day you'll realize people like me always come back. We just wear different faces. I read it once, then burned it, because she was wrong. She hadn't built this neighborhood. She'd poisoned it, manipulated it, turned community into control. And the people here, even the quiet ones, were done being afraid. The day Amanda Williams was officially elected as the new HOA president, she came to our door with a clipboard and a smile. But this time, it wasn't fake. No more secret fines, she said. No more threats. Just neighbors figuring out how to live next to each other again. Liam answered the door before I could. He didn't flinch. She smiled at him. You doing okay? He nodded. Better than okay. That evening, we set up a folding table in the front yard. A little neighborhood potluck. Nothing big. Plastic cups, paper plates, a Bluetooth speaker playing 80s hits. Families came. Kids played. No one talked about Sandra. At some point, I caught Pete glancing at the corner of my lawn. You ever going to take down that little sign? I looked at it. The one Liam made himself. Private property. No exceptions. I shrugged. Maybe. Maybe not. Liam leaned in, smiling. We should keep it, just in case. The sky turned orange, then violet. Laughter floated down the street, and for the first time since we'd arrived, I didn't feel like a guest in my own life. I felt like we'd made it, not just through Sandra, through the doubt, the fear, the silence, and we did it together. So if you've got a story like this, if someone in power ever tried to take what was yours, don't just walk away. Speak, record, stand. Because sometimes the only thing stronger than a Karen is a community that's finally had enough. And if you're still watching, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and tell me, what would you have done if it was your kid?